We just had a pretty significant little storm come through here. Dumped a bunch of rain in a hurry, but it's turned off really pretty after that storm passed. I am just about to seed our first flats, and I am late getting it done, but we're gonna jump on it and do it anyway, and see if we can get some tomatoes, eggplant, and peppers started. I know some of you, if you know our area, our zone, you're gonna tell me I'm way late on peppers. I know that, but it's all right. We got some 392s. This is how we always start. If you're not familiar with growing the cultural practices of growing tomatoes and eggplant and peppers, this is the way most people do them. I mean, the cell size varies, but this is something I didn't realize until I got into produce farming, that when you set them out in the field, that's probably the third time they've been planted. What we do is this Carolina's Choice. It works really well because it's a fine, real fine potting mix, so it works well in these super small cells. And there's several reasons behind this. One of them is to conserve space. I'm fixing to, let's see, we got, we'll just call them 400, so 4 times 5. I'm fixing to start 2,000 seeds in an old freezer with a heat lamp, or a heat pad on the bottom with a pan of water on top of it, and I'll show you all that. But basically we're going to fill these up. We're going to put a seed in every cell, and then I'm going to put these on racks in this old freezer and put a pan of water on top of a heating pad. It's not a heating pad like you would use when your back's hurting. This is a seed starting heating pad. So it's not going to get extremely hot, but it gets hot enough to make condensation, and that's what we want. It will make this freezer be around 95-ish degrees, and it will just be dripping. Everything in that inside of that freezer will be dripping wet, and that's what we want. We want hot and we want humid, and it will pop these suckers right out of the ground. The only thing we have to really be careful with doing this method is we got to be on top of when those seeds pop open. We got to get them out here in the greenhouse or under a grow lamp, because they will stretch. What I mean by stretch is the plant gets so tall that it falls over. So we want to keep our plants as short and stocky, healthy as possible. So that's one of the reasons that we start them out in such small flats. Another reason is tomatoes will put roots off their stem. So the idea for producing healthy tomato plants that are really going to take off and go when you put them in the field is to have the strongest root system possible and have a short, stocky plant. The way that we achieve that is by starting them like this when they get about 2 inches tall, and there'll be videos following on this. Once these plants get about 2 inches tall, we are going to plant them in either a 50 cell plastic flat or these styrofoam flats. It just depends. A lot of times I'll use these 50 cells. I really like them because they've got a big, deep cup, a lot of room for root development. But we're going to take this 2-inch plant and we're going to plant it down to where we just got the leaves sticking out of the dirt, and that allows it to put more roots off of the stem and develop a stronger root system. Also, you're saving space by putting them in this freezer out here. We're not heating the greenhouse for these 5 little flats. If we were to plant 2,000 plants in normal flats and put them out here in the greenhouse, it would take up a lot of space, and then we would have, even if you've got really good seed and you get 90% germination, I mean, you've still got 5 out of every 50 cell flat that didn't come up. so you're wasting a lot of space. Using this method, once we transplant them into the big flats, we have 0 empty cells. 100% success rate at that point. It's important to have moisture in your potting soil before you put it in the flats. If your potting soil is just dry as snuff when you put it in your flats, you're never going to be able to get it to soak up water. There's 2 ways of watering flats after you get them seeded. The way that I prefer is bottom watering. I've got some stainless steel pans that I set the flats in, and it just soaks the water up, wicks it up through the bottom. If there's a little bit of moisture in your potting soil when you start, it sucks it up and it just turns black and slick and wet instantly. If it's really dry, it takes forever, and ain't nobody got time for that. What I have here is a top secret tomato variety known only as Larry, and it's actually a potato leaf pink brandywine. It's not all that uncommon, but he's been saving the seed for, I guess, his whole life, and he's, I think, in his 70s, so he's pretty proud of them, and I always start them for him every year. So starting off with these, I'm going to seed only about 150 of these for him. I've got this little seed dispenser here. Came from Johnny's Seed. Yeah, right there on the bottom. But I've been using this thing for 5 or 6 years, and you kind of get a feel for it. It works really good with flat seeds like tomatoes. It's a little bit more challenging to use if you've got unpelleted cabbage or broccoli, because they tend to want to roll out. Holly, she likes to seed by hand, just putting each seed in each hole by hand, but I can do it a little bit faster like this. Certainly not a vacuum seeder or a mechanical seeder, but it works for no more transplants than we grow. So what Holly's doing here is we go through after we put seeds in each cell, and different people do it different ways. You might be a little bit better off if you had a sifter to sift a little bit of vermiculite over top of them, but this is the way we've always done it, and it's always worked well. We just go through and just barely poke a seed in with a pencil, just to barely get it down in the soil a little bit so it can stay at a consistent moisture and germinate. So this is what I was talking about. Stainless steel pan, fill it up with water, set your flats in it, and I just set this one in there for it was in there maybe 30 seconds, and it's just completely soaked because that soil was already damp to start with. Much better than top watering. If you top water, you're gonna displace your seeds unless you're just using a really fine mist, which takes a long time. So this is a much better way, in my opinion. This is our fancy germination chamber I was talking about. It's an old freezer that went out, and got some high-tech shelves that we added in here so we can get more flats in. Got my pan full of water in the bottom, and that seed starting heat mat, which just runs out here and plugs in. Got a thermometer up here so that I can keep an eye on what the temperature is doing, and we just fill this up with plants, plug it up, and it'll pop them out of the dirt in just a couple days. Well, it's raining again. Imagine that if you can. I just wanted to give y'all a little update on the plants. I wrote down 319. So 319 was when I seeded these, and it is the 25th. They are out of the germination chamber, and this right here is a flat of Cherokee Purple, Better Boy, and the Larry tomatoes that I mentioned. And you can see they are coming along nicely. Got pretty consistent germination across all the varieties. That's good. That's what you always want. Striped Germans are up, looking good. And you can see right here what happens when plants that do not get taken out of the germination chamber when they should be. You have to, very important that you keep an eye on your tomatoes at least twice a day when they're in that germination chamber, because as soon as they start to, let me see if I can find one here. As soon as your tomatoes do this, if you're germinating them in a dark place, you have got to get them suckers outside or get them under a grow light, one of the two, because this right here, that could be as little as 6 hours too late, and they're stretched that much. Now these Mountain Fresh, they're stretched so bad. The early girls are stretched a little bit, but they'll probably be okay. But the good thing about it, these Mountain Fresh are stretched, yes, but we've still got to transplant them. We transplant them, we will transplant them down super deep, and we'll get rid of that stretch at that point. But I just wanted to give y'all a little update here on the end of the video to kind of show you progress since I could. See you next time.